I know this is going to come as a huge shock to a lot of people, but today, on Donald Trump's Truth Social, he admitted to being a dyed-in-the-wool socialist. I know, a lot of people are shaking their heads. No, he didn't, McKee. I would have seen that. He absolutely did, and I've got the receipts to show it. He's bragging about something that he did now that Barack Obama did, and when Barack Obama did it, Republicans and conservatives lost their minds. But when Donald Trump did it, it was saving America. Now, what am I talking about? How many of you remember many years ago when Trump was actually a Democrat that he said the economy does better under the Democrats? In many cases, he identifies as one. Well, today was one of those days. Florida Marquis, can you prove any of this? I absolutely can, and I'm going to. But first, as always, thank you. Thank you to everyone who shows up here on a daily basis. I know not everybody who's here agrees with everything I have to say, but I do bring the facts and I do bring proof. Sometimes it's hard to hear. It's very easy for people to say one thing and get their followers to believe one thing when they know their followers won't check into it. That's how you know you're in a cult. It really is. When you don't check for the receipts, so to speak. Okay, this guy says ABC. Let's go look and see if he really lives the ABC. Let's go see if what's really going on is what he's talking about, and that's what we're going to do today. Now, let's go right to Donald Trump's Truth Social today, and let's read exactly what he had to say. At Real Donald Trump, 7 hours ago, I am heading to Des Moines this Saturday to rally with the great people of Iowa. Unlike Joe Biden, I protected Iowa's first in the nation caucuses and always will. Every promise I made to the people of Iowa, I fulfilled as your president and even beyond my promises. Now pay attention. Pay attention. This is where people, they're already in their emotions. They stop listening. I got farmers $28 billion from China. Kind of a lie. Money that was unthinkable by anyone else. There's a reason. I also saved ethanol, which is the process of taking perfectly good food and turning it into fuel when there are starving people in the world, but another argument for another day, and did more for Iowa than anyone else in history. And well, again, now, what's he talking about? He's talking about tariffs. He's talking about all of the huge tariffs that he slapped on China when he became president. And here, 92% of Trump's China tariff proceeds has gone to bail out angry farmers because, of course, the Chinese retaliated. Now let's read. China, quote unquote, is paying billions and billions of dollars on U.S. tariffs, President Trump said in his debate with Joe Biden in October 22. And October 22 of, this would have been back in 18. Let's see, President Trump, Joe Biden. And you know who got the money? Our farmers are great farmers. He is half right. Since 2018, the president has repeatedly insisted that China pays the tariffs he has imposed on Chinese imports. That claim is false. The tariffs are paid entirely by U.S. importers, meaning when China retaliated and threw on their own tariffs, it cost us a bunch of money. His advisors, such as Peter Navarro, knowing the claim is false, have tried to defend him in the tariffs by arguing that China pays the tariffs indirectly through currency depreciation and lowering export prices. Now, Donald Trump, in his contract with America, promised to label China a currency manipulator. He never did. The arguments are false and illogical, since the advisors also claim that such Chinese behavior benefits China and hurts the United States. So which is it? The president's statement do, however, here's the positive part, check out on his other point. American farmers have indeed laid claim to nearly all his China tariff revenue, which now totals $66 billion. In 2018 and 19, Trump authorized payments to U.S. farmers of $28 billion to offset their losses from Chinese trade retaliation. This year, with farmers struggling under the twin crises of the trade war and the pandemic, bailouts have soared way higher. Trump promised angry farmers another $19 billion in April, $14 billion in September, bringing his bailouts to a grand total of $61 billion. Now, guess who else wanted to throw huge tariffs on China and their goods? Barack Obama. And the Republicans and the conservatives said, wait a minute, getting government involved this way in the free market is a bad idea. This is September 21st, 2012. Obama administration implemented a steep 3-year tariff on imports of Chinese-made tires. The tariff was structured with 35% duty first year, 30% second, 25% the third, on top of the 4% based tariffs designed to, quote-unquote, protect American jobs. This is exactly the same thing Donald Trump was doing. It is socialism on steroids. Economists, Trump's tariffs policies are looking a lot more like a socialist planned state, where the government gets involved and controls how much things cost. And when you look at this image that I made called Down the Socialist Trails, this was my own creation. You talk about taxes and regulations, all the way at the bottom, subsidies. Subsidies are the lifeblood of socialism. Government payments to farmers to either grow things or not grow things, or grow things but only charge so much at market, and then the government will step in and fill that void if there is a lack, so that prices remain in a certain range on the shelf for the end consumer. The U.S. has been doing this since long before I was born. Farm subsidies are socialism, period. And it's insane to hear Donald Trump decry socialism. No, we don't want to be a socialist country. We don't want to go the way of Venezuela. That's all Venezuela wanted to do. One of the biggest things that pissed off Washington, D.C. about Venezuela was when they expropriated the farmland. A whole bunch of English interests bought up a ton of farmland in Venezuela and left it set. Didn't use it to keep Venezuela from creating their own food. And so they took it back, they gave them the money for it, and they began growing their own food. I'll give you these links and you can read it. There is no version of capitalism or laissez-faire free market society that has built into it subsidies for any business. It skews everything. And to keep going down this same vein of thought, Kayleigh McEnany, the woman who's taken over for Tucker Carlson on Fox, makes bold Trump DeSantis prediction, says face-off will come down to one major factor. Actually, a couple of them. I wanted to read this to you guys because it makes a lot of sense. Friday, when asked about the 2024 presidential election, Kayleigh McEnany, former press secretary for President Donald Trump, provided an answer that some may have found surprising. McEnany appeared on Friday's episode of America 180 with David Brody to discuss her new book, Serenity in the Storm. But it was inevitable that she would be asked some political questions. Quote, how do you think this 2024 race is going to shape up? Brody asked. She said, well, we'll see. I think a lot of it's going to be defined by the debate stage. Ron DeSantis has done a phenomenal job in Florida. He has a litany of achievements to list off. I think President Trump will say, I've been there as president, I've done that, I can do it again. I think this will be his argument. McEnany then addressed recent polling data indicated that her former boss had a commanding lead over the man widely believed his most formidable opponent. Quote, polling suggests that President Trump has this wide lead, but I think once Governor DeSantis declares, you're going to see that lead tighten, McEnany predicted. He hasn't even declared his candidacy yet, which is the case. And now here's the quote that's the most important part. I think it's anyone's guess as to how the primary is going to go. But what I would say, and perhaps it's Pollyanna-ish to hope for, but I would love to get back to Reagan's 11th commandment about not attacking a fellow Republican. Amen. Amen. We can do so on policy, she said. Let's have policy debates all day. It makes us better, makes us stronger. But if we can avoid the 2016 trappings that saw Donald Trump call every other conservative filthy, horrible names that we saw on the debate stage where the discourse got low, I think it would be better for the party. I thought the enemy was Joe Biden. I really did. Now, to dovetail with that, we talked about this the other day, the narcissist's prayer. That didn't happen. Oh, it did? Well, it wasn't that bad. Oh, it was? Really? Okay, well, it's not that big of a deal, really. Oh, okay, so it's a big deal? Well, it's not my fault. Well, if it even was my fault, I didn't mean it. And if I did mean it, you deserved it. I don't know how you could see anybody else but Donald Trump in this. But there's a better person to describe this now. This is a guy named DeCaris. He's the head of InBev. And he's trying to react to this issue with Bud Light. You know what he's trying? He's trying the narcissist angle. Anheuser-Busch CEO distances company from Dylan Mulvaney. One post, not a formal campaign, not that big a deal. We weren't really trying to make any kind of a statement with it. We make a quarter of all beer globally. It was one can. It's impacted our people and frontline workers. So you boycotters, you're just really hurting your own friends and neighbors. Delivery drivers, sales representatives, wholesalers. So we, the good guys, the good guys at InBev, we're going to be offering free beer, free case of beer, and we're going to significantly bump up our advertising. And, the reports of the collapse in sales, they're overblown. It's only really 1% of our overall global volumes for that period. These are his quotes. Only 1%. Okay, Mr. DeCaris, if it's not that big a deal, if everybody who's no longer drinking Bud Light, not that big a deal, then you will not have a problem with us taking that money that we were spending on InBev products and taking that money and then using it to support our local breweries and our local craft beer makers. Because you won't miss it. It's only 1%, right? It's not that big of a deal. So we're going to take the money and we're going to reinvest it locally in craft breweries. And yeah, those are a little bit more expensive, but boy, since you're not going to miss it, you would really want the people to benefit from that, wouldn't you? Think of the thousands of craft breweries all across just the United States alone that could really use that extra income. Since it's no big deal to you, Mr. DeCaris. Since you're not missing it at all. Not a problem. Not a big deal at all. Do you see what's going on here? Do you see the game he's trying to play? This is what narcissists do. This is why we talk about psychological operations so much. I haven't heard anybody call this guy out on this. If you aren't going to miss the money and it ain't that big of a deal, you see, the people who support Dylan Mulvaney, they thought it was a huge deal. They thought it was an enormous deal to have a big, huge global corporation like Bud Light get into their camp. They thought it was an immense deal, a huge step forward for them. And now they watch you playing it off and dismissing it. There's a bar in Chicago, a huge one, that's not serving those products, and they're a gay bar because they're seeing exactly what's going on with InBev. They're like, wait a minute, I thought this guy I thought they were on our side. I thought they were going to help promote our ideas and our ideals. And I was like, not a campaign. Oh, not a campaign. It wasn't official promotion. It was just this one can, this one time, no big thing. And it's really not done all that much damage, only 1% globally. We deal with all sorts of shutdowns and liquor bans and for months at a time around the globe. This too shall pass. That's his attitude. That's his attitude. And it sounds real familiar. It sounds really familiar. And I'm pretty sure I know where I heard it before. Now, I would love for someone down in the comments section to go do a little research on what farm subsidies are, the concept of subsidies to begin with, and tell me how that jives with being anti-socialist. How you can be a capitalist and be bragging about subsidies based on tariffs. It was super terrible and horrible when Obama was hitting the Chinese with massive tariffs on Chinese tires. But it was super fantastic and wonderful when Donald Trump was hitting China with massive tariffs on all sorts of other things. Aluminum and farm products, all sorts of other things. How does that work? How does that work? How Donald Trump can do the exact same thing Barack Obama did, but he's a hero and Obama's a villain. So, anyway. Once again, Love to have you at Patreon. Thank you so much for the support, especially those of you stepping up over the $5 level now. God bless y'all. It makes an enormous, enormous difference in my life, more so than what you know. It really does. And it's starting to give me parity and leverage. We're going to have some brand new videos coming out over there, and it's going to probably make some people a little uncomfortable, but that's what Patreon's for. That's what Vimeo's for. Because over there, not even Google can see those videos. They're behind a paywall. Google would literally have to sign up for the Florida Maquis Patreon channel to see the videos at Vimeo. They can see everything but that because it's not free. It's not free for me to put my videos over there. So there's a certain amount of cost involved on my end, so much a year to hold back that server space. So anyway, love to have your support. God bless. Have a great week, everyone. Like, share, subscribe. We'll see you guys next time.